Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
My story starts when my partner landed an unpaid internship in a new city that could open some major doors for her career down the line. The catch was that we had to find housing in one of the tightest rental markets I'd ever seen. We spent weeks searching for a place within our budget. Every decent listing was either already taken or way out of our price range. Finally, we bumped our budget up by a few $100s and found a house that seemed manageable. It wasn't great since the place was tiny, with bedrooms that couldn't have been more than 10 feet by 10 feet, and honestly, it made me feel a bit trapped just looking at it. The whole interior had these gross stains smeared across the walls at about dog height. Apparently, the previous tenants had a couple of large dogs that had basically destroyed the place. The smell hit you the moment you walked in. The backyard looked like a jungle with weeds 2 feet high, completely dead, with trash scattered everywhere. According to the lease terms, we'd be responsible for all the landscaping and keeping the lawn in good condition. What lawn was basically a dirt lot with some dead vegetation. But we were desperate. The lease said it could be either 1 or 2 years, and we specifically wanted the 1-year option since her internship was only for that long. We figured we could scrub the walls, paint everything, buy a cheap lawn mower, and somehow resurrect that disaster of a yard. We had good credit and my income was solid, so we submitted our application with a $100 fee, $50 each. A few days passed before the real estate agent called back. Our application was approved, but there was a catch. The owner wanted an extra $150 per month because we only wanted the 1-year lease instead of 2 years. I asked her why she was telling us this now, after we'd already paid the application fee. She explained in this condescending tone that it was perfectly legal and that the owner was entitled to charge more for shorter leases because he might have to go through the whole rental process again in just a year. She reminded me that the rental market was extremely tight and that landlords could basically do whatever they wanted. I could take it or leave it, but good luck finding anything else. She had this attitude that made my blood boil, but she was right about one thing: we didn't have other options. I told her I needed to discuss it with my partner and would call back. Back at our hotel room, my partner was in tears. We both felt like complete failures at adulting. Here we were, supposedly responsible people with decent credit and income, and we couldn't even find a basic place to live without getting ripped off. The whole situation felt hopeless. I couldn't sleep that night, so I pulled up our saved housing searches on my phone. That's when I saw it, a new listing that looked amazing and was about $500 cheaper than the dump we'd been trying to rent. It was actually within our original budget range. My first thought was that it had to be a scam. Places like this just didn't exist in our price range. But I sent an email anyway, and the next morning I got a call from this friendly, older man who seemed genuine. We set up a viewing for that afternoon. The place was incredible compared to what we'd been looking at. Clean, spacious, no mysterious dog stains or overwhelming odors. The landlord was straightforward and honest. We signed the lease that same day and felt like we'd won the lottery. But we were still furious about the other situation. That agent had basically held our application fee hostage and tried to extort extra money from us, knowing we were desperate. I started typing this angry email, laying out exactly how unethical her bait and switch tactics were. But before I could send it, my partner had a different idea. She told me not to send that email because she had a better plan. When I asked what kind of plan, she explained that we should do nothing and just wait. She explained her strategy, and I had to admit it was brilliant. Instead of sending the angry email, I deleted it. We moved into our new place and started getting settled. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from the agent. She was checking in since she hadn't heard back about the lease signing and wanted to know if we were still interested in the property. I texted back that we were very interested but had gone out of town for a family emergency. We'd be back in about a week and could meet then to sign everything. She replied that since we were well-qualified applicants, That timing worked fine, but she wanted confirmation that we definitely wanted to proceed. I assured her we were 100% committed to the place. We spent the next week enjoying our actual new home while I occasionally sent updates to the agent about our family situation and how eager we were to get the lease finalized. 10 days after our last real conversation, my phone rang. The agent sounded frantic. She really needed to get the lease signed and wanted to know when exactly we could come in. I told her my partner had been really sick since we got back and asked if we could push it to early next week. I emphasized that we were still completely committed to renting the place. She agreed but said she really needed this finalized soon and made me promise to call her Monday to set up the signing. I assured her I would call Monday for sure. Monday morning, I sent a cheerful email telling her that we decided not to move forward with the rental after all and thanking her anyway. The phone started ringing immediately. My partner and I exchanged looks, and I answered while putting it on speaker. She was panicked, asking what I meant about not moving forward. She'd been holding the property for over 2 weeks because I'd said we were committed. I could hear the genuine desperation creeping into her voice. She offered to bring the rent back down to the original advertised price, asking desperately if that would change our mind. I looked at my partner, who was silently cracking up and hiding her face in her hands. The tension through the phone was incredible when the agent waited for my response. I told her I'd think about it for a second and let the silence drag out just long enough to be uncomfortable. Then I cheerfully declined, telling her we'd found something else. She begged me to reconsider, explaining that she hadn't shown the place to anyone else because we'd seemed so certain. I told her I understood but our decision was final, wished her a great day, and hung up. My partner dissolved into victorious laughter. Her plan had worked perfectly. The agent had spent over 2 weeks thinking she had guaranteed tenants while missing out on other potential renters. She'd experienced exactly the kind of frustration and wasted time that she'd tried to inflict on us with her last-minute price manipulation. She'd offered to drop the rent back to the original price, proving that the extra $150 had been nothing more than a greedy cash grab all along. I was 21 and studying childcare at the local college. As part of my course requirements, I had to work 1 day a week at a private nursery to get hands-on experience with children. I've been placed at Sunshine Nursery, a small but well-run place that catered to families in the area. After being there for nearly a year, I'd grown close to both the staff and the kids. The work was rewarding and I genuinely enjoyed helping shape these young minds during their most formative years. Everything changed when the new enrollment period started in summer. That's when she arrived with her daughter. The little girl was absolutely adorable, a 3-year-old bundle of energy who loved giving hugs and kisses to everyone. She had the biggest smile and would bounce around the playground like she owned the place. Sure, she was a bit chubby for her age, but that's completely normal for toddlers. What struck me immediately was how different she looked from her mother. The mother was this tall, pale woman who'd apparently moved here from America about a year ago. Her daughter was black, which didn't surprise any of us staff members since families come in all shapes and sizes these days. But what did surprise us was how the mother seemed almost embarrassed by her own child. From day one, this woman was problematic. Our nursery closed at 6 p.m., which was clearly stated in all our documentation, but she consistently showed up an hour late to collect her daughter. We had a policy about this. Parents got 3 warnings before we'd have to contact Child Protection Services. She somehow always managed to arrive just before that hour was up, usually looking flustered with her face red and sweaty. She'd show up in these ridiculously tight dresses, tottering on high heels that were completely inappropriate for a nursery pickup. Her makeup was always caked on so thick it looked like she was heading to some fancy event rather than collecting a toddler. The strong perfume she wore was so overpowering that it would linger in our reception area long after she'd left. Then came the summer trip announcement. Every year the nursery organized a day out to the big theme park about an hour away. It was always a hit with the families, and honestly, the staff loved it too because we basically got a free day out. Since the parents were responsible for their own children during the trip, we could actually enjoy the rides ourselves. The day of the trip arrived, and there she was in another tight dress and heels, looking completely out of place among the other parents who dressed sensibly in comfortable clothes and trainers. That's when things started getting really weird. While we were all gathering near the bus, she spotted another child, a beautiful little girl with blonde pigtails and bright blue eyes. She approached the child's mother with what I can only describe as an unsettling intensity. Karen complimented the blonde child, calling her cute. The other mother thanked her politely and said the girl was their pride and joy. Then Karen made some disturbing comments about the child's crystal blue eyes, blonde hair, and fair pale skin. The other mother agreed that her daughter was beautiful, but seemed uncomfortable. Karen then said she wished her own daughter looked like the blonde child. The other mother tried to be kind and said Karen's daughter was also beautiful, but Karen just scoffed and said she wanted a baby girl like the blonde one instead. Then she did something that made my skin crawl. She reached out and started stroking the blonde child's hair. The other mother immediately pulled her daughter away and hurried over to two staff members, clearly shaken by the encounter. We quickly rearranged the seating so that Karen and her daughter were at the back of the bus while the blonde girl's family sat up front. The theme park should have been fun for everyone, but we staff members kept having to keep an eye on the situation. We went on rides and tried to enjoy ourselves, but there was this nagging feeling that something wasn't right. By late afternoon, we were all getting hungry and headed to the food court. That's when we saw something that made our blood boil. Karen was sitting at a table in the back drinking beer and talking loudly on her phone while her daughter slept in her pushchair completely unattended. We approached her table and I tried to keep things friendly. I greeted her and asked if she was enjoying the trip. She complained about how boring and tiring it had been, saying her feet hurt from walking around and it was too hot. I asked if she and her daughter had enjoyed any of the rides. She said her daughter had loved the merry-go-round more than anything. That was strange because there wasn't a merry-go-round in the entire theme park. I sat down with two other staff members to keep an eye on her since she was clearly tipsy. Her face was flushed and she was swaying slightly in her chair. That's when she started saying things that made us all uncomfortable. She began talking about never wanting a child, about how her husband had adopted her daughter during one of his work trips to Africa. She kept making these awful comments about beauty standards and popularity in American high schools. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. She made a horrific comment about her daughter's dark skin, wondering if anyone would be able to see bruises on it. The other staff members and I exchanged worried looks. Two of them immediately went to check on her daughter while I kept Karen talking. Thankfully, there were no signs of physical abuse, but we were all deeply concerned. We managed to get Karen back to the bus to rest while the bus driver watched her. Meanwhile, we took her daughter on all the rides she'd missed: the elephant ride, the little airplanes, the toddler roller coaster. The poor little girl was having the time of her life, and it broke our hearts to think about what she might be dealing with at home. When we got back that evening, our manager immediately contacted Karen's husband and told him everything we'd witnessed and heard. Apparently, he came to pick up Karen that night since she was too drunk to drive. The following week, Karen showed up unusually early to collect her daughter. The blonde girl and her mother were leaving just as Karen arrived, and that's when everything exploded. Without warning, Karen grabbed the blonde child by the arm and screamed that she wanted this child and demanded the mother give her to her. The other mother yelled back, asking what was wrong with Karen and telling her to let go. Karen continued screaming that she deserved a beautiful white child, that the blonde girl belonged to her, and that she wanted a beautiful baby girl. All of us staff members rushed over immediately. It took 3 of the male staff members to restrain Karen while the other mother grabbed her terrified daughter and held her protectively. The poor child was crying and clearly in pain from where Karen had grabbed her. We called the police and Karen's husband immediately. Everyone was told to leave early that day because of the chaos. I was definitely sent home, but some of the senior staff stayed to give witness statements. According to one of the staff members who stayed behind, Karen's husband arrived and had a massive argument with her right there in the manager's office. He apparently threatened divorce, which sent Karen into hysterics. She was literally clinging to his leg, begging him not to leave her, and promising she was sorry. For the next month, Karen never showed up to collect her daughter. It was always either a nanny or the husband himself. Through the office gossip network, we learned that the husband had indeed filed for divorce and obtained a restraining order against Karen. Apparently, when he visited her in jail, she'd actually tried to attack him for choosing his daughter over her. The other mother also sued Karen and got her own restraining order. From what we heard, Karen's husband got full custody of his daughter and was raising her as a single father. The little girl continued coming to our nursery, and it was beautiful to see how much her father adored her. He treated her like the precious treasure she was, and never made her feel anything less than loved and beautiful. I'm retired and live about an hour away from my son and his family. They have 3 kids, and my granddaughter is the middle child at 15. She's always been different from her siblings, not just in personality, but physically too. Her older brother and younger sister both have dark brown hair like their parents, but she has these beautiful blonde curls that seem to come out of nowhere. Her eyes are a different shade too, more green than the deep brown everyone else has. For years, I figured genetics could be funny that way. You hear about kids looking nothing like their parents all the time. I loved her just the same, maybe even had a soft spot for her since she seemed to struggle with feeling like she fit in with the family. The whole mess started about 6 months ago when she came to visit me for the weekend. We were watching some crime show where they used DNA testing to solve a case, and she mentioned how cool it would be to do one of those ancestry tests to see where our family came from. She told me she had asked her parents if she could get one for her birthday, but they said absolutely not. When I asked why they wouldn't want her to learn about her heritage, she explained that they got really weird about it. Her dad said it was a waste of money, and her mom said some things are better left alone. When she kept asking, they banned her from even talking about it. That raised a huge red flag for me. I've known my son his whole life, and he's never been secretive about family history. In fact, he used to love hearing stories about his grandparents and great-grandparents. Why would he suddenly clam up when his daughter wanted to learn the same things? I decided to have a conversation with my son and his wife the next week when I came over for dinner. I brought up that I had been talking with her daughter about family history, and she mentioned they wouldn't let her get a DNA test. I asked if there was something I should know about. My son got defensive and told me not to start with this. His wife chimed in that their daughter didn't need to know everything about their family's business. When I pressed them about what they were hiding, my son claimed they weren't hiding anything, and that those tests were just invasive and they didn't want their information out there. I could see right through them. My son was avoiding eye contact, and his wife kept fidgeting with her wedding ring, something she only did when she was lying about something. I told them that if there was something about her birth or adoption that she needed to know for medical reasons, they couldn't keep that from her forever. His wife insisted that she was their daughter and that's all that mattered. My son told me to drop it and that this wasn't my business. They shut down the conversation completely, but I left that dinner more suspicious than ever. A few months later, my granddaughter called me crying after school one day. She asked if I could pick her up because she needed to talk to someone. When I got to her school, she was sitting on the steps looking devastated. I asked what happened and she explained that they were doing a genetics unit in biology class. Her teacher had pulled her aside after class and said it was really unusual for someone with her eye color and hair texture to have parents with completely different traits. The teacher had asked if she was adopted. She told me she said no to the teacher, but now she couldn't stop thinking about it. She said she needed to know the truth and asked if I could help her get one of those DNA tests. She had some babysitting money saved up. I looked at this kid who was clearly in pain from not knowing who she really was, and I made a decision that I knew would cause problems. I told her yes, I would help her, but she needed to understand this might change things with her parents. She said she didn't care anymore because she was tired of feeling like she didn't belong anywhere. We ordered the test that afternoon and sent it off. 3 weeks later, the results came back, and my worst fears were confirmed. According to the DNA analysis, she shared no genetic markers with her mother, none at all. She asked if this meant she really was adopted, and I had to tell her it looked that way. I apologized that they didn't tell her. She said she knew it and had always felt different, and now she knew why. She was surprisingly calm at first, but I could see the anger building underneath. When she confronted her parents that evening, all hell broke loose. The next day, my son called me screaming. He yelled about how I could go behind their backs like that and that I had no right. I told him she had every right to know the truth about herself and that they should have told her years ago. His wife got on the phone and screamed that I had ruined everything and that their daughter wouldn't even look at them now. I told her that maybe if they hadn't lied to her for 15 years, she wouldn't be so angry. My son then revealed that they were protecting her because her birth mother was a drug addict who gave her up. I asked him why that was something to be ashamed of and pointed out that my granddaughter was a wonderful kid regardless of her origins, but they weren't having it. His wife called me a meddling old woman who destroyed their family. My son said I was banned from their house and that I couldn't see any of the grandkids anymore. The irony is that their punishment backfired completely. My granddaughter was already furious with them for lying, but when she found out they were trying to cut me off for helping her learn the truth, she went ballistic. She called me the next day and told me she had packed a bag and wanted to stay with me for a while. She said her parents were acting like crazy people and she couldn't stand to be around them. I told her she was always welcome at my house. When her parents came to pick her up, she refused to go with them. She stood on my front porch and told them she was old enough to decide where she wanted to stay, and she was choosing to stay with the one person in the family who didn't lie to her. Her mother started crying and begging, saying they only lied because they loved her. My granddaughter shot back that if they really loved her, they would have trusted her with the truth instead of making her feel like a freak for 15 years. Her father tried to get tough and demanded she get in the car. She told him she wasn't going anywhere until they apologized for lying and until they apologized to me for trying to punish me for helping her. It's been 2 weeks now and she's still staying with me. Her parents have been calling and texting constantly, but she's not backing down. She found her birth mother on social media and they've been talking. Turns out the woman got clean years ago and has been hoping to reconnect someday. Yesterday, my son and his wife finally came over to talk without yelling. They admitted they handled everything wrong and apologized to both of us. They said they were scared of losing her and thought keeping the secret would be easier. My granddaughter told them she might forgive them eventually, but they had a lot of work to do to earn back her trust. She also made it clear that I was not the villain in this story. They were, for lying to her and then trying to punish the one person who helped her find the truth. I think we're going to be okay eventually, but it's going to take time. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.